What's up, gorgeous? I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to another episode of the Fierce Framework, where we talk about becoming fierce through messy action, baby steps, and cultivating your confidence. I'm your host, Mary Beth. I'm an ADHD kid with a dream to see more women living lives that we're excited about. I want to see us breaking out of the mold society tells us we're supposed to fit into and start living life more on our own terms, where we're in line with our values, we're pursuing our purpose, and we're making our dreams turn into realities. If that sounds good to you, you're going to love this episode because it's all about doing the shit that you're meant to do. So, oh, I'm not gonna lie, I started recording this episode and I hated it. So I'm gonna be a little bit more, I don't know, authentic, I guess. I don't love my outline, but I do trust that we're gonna get this message across. So I want to kind of start with the premise that we've been talking about taking action and putting yourself out there, trying things out, doing the things. Last time we talked about how clarity follows action, and so I've just been really wanting to encourage you to take action towards the things that light you up, right? If there's something you want to try, if there's excuse me, like a desire or a passion on your heart, like I believe that it's there for a reason, and so I want to encourage you to pursue that. Because at the foundation, I believe that we're all here for a reason. I believe that you have a special sauce that you bring to the world that no one else has, and that you care about different things than different people care about. Maybe you care about them in a different way, right? There's going to be some overlap. We're not all 100% different. We are more similar than we are different. However, I do think that those differences are key to building a better world. Honestly, I hope that doesn't sound too like out there. But when I think about it, I kind of like take a step back, right? And I'm like, different people have their different passions and their different interests and their different causes, and we care about different things and we look at things in different ways. And so it's like if we're all shining at our brightest and best, we're gonna light up the whole world. This is sounding like really aspirational. I'm so sorry because that's not usually my vibe. But like I actually believe that. And so I think that when we stifle ourselves or we're not able or willing to shine your light, or whatever that looks like, whatever that means for you, then like the world misses out on that. And so I truly believe that you have a special set of skills, but like your personality, right? The way you go about things, the things that you care about, the things that you're good at, the things that you're passionate about, the things that make you feel alive, that's like its own special recipe that's going to be different from anyone else. And so when you're living out loud, like when you're digging into those things that make you you, when you're cultivating you being you, then you're putting out into the world and you're contributing those things to humanity that no one else can do in that same way. And I think that it's really important and I think that it's really powerful. And I think that when we don't do that, the world just misses out on it. And so it's like that concept of like you can only be the best version of you. So even if I try to be someone else, I'm never gonna be as good at being that person as that person is. Like she's always gonna be the best at being her because she is her. And so even if I try as hard as I can to be her, I'm never gonna be as good at being her as she is. And so isn't it more beneficial if she focuses on being the best her and I focus on being the best me? Because instead of, we'll call her Jessica, right? So instead of there being a Jessica, who's the best version of Jessica, and then me trying to be a second Jessica who's like not that great at it, and then we have one and a half Jessicas, right? And then no Mary Beth. Wouldn't it benefit if Jessica is the best Jessica she can be and I focus on being the best Mary Beth I can be? Because then our communities get the best Jessica and the best Mary Beth. So that's kind of like the foundation that I want to set like for this conversation. And I guess just like making sure we're on the same page. You know, like that's where I'm coming from, and that's like the premise of the rest of the podcast that I want to get into. So, okay. So I truly believe that like you have specific gifts and talents and abilities, and like your personality brings those things to the world in a special way. And I think that it like the things that we care about matter. And I think that like we care about them for a reason, right? So I believe like if something's on your heart, if there's like a deep desire that you have or something that like you want to see happen in the world, I think that that's there for a reason. And not everybody is going to feel the same way about that thing, right? I love how Toni Morrison talks about if there's a book that you want to read that hasn't been written yet, that you need to write that book. And honestly, like we could just stop the podcast there. That's basically what I'm saying. So when you have that like burden on your heart and you have that desire to do something, there's a reason. And I think that fact that you care qualifies you to do that thing. Because I think a lot of the time what we get into is we're like, okay, yeah, I care really strongly about this, but I'm like, it's just not for me, or like I'm not good enough to kind of do that, or like somebody else would be better at doing that. So I'm just gonna sit back and like hope that that gets taken care of. And I mean, I would argue that it won't, if not only in the same way that it would if you did it. So there's a couple like misconceptions that I think we fall into, and I think one of them is like I'm not the person for that job. And so I want to kind of bring up a couple things that I hope encourage you. So we so easily like look at someone else and we're like, "Oh, they should do that because they're better at XYZ," or they've been doing this for longer, or they have, better skills, they're a better public speaker, or whatever it is that like we're projecting onto them, or maybe even just observing about them, right? But we're so easily like we convince ourselves that someone else would be better for the thing that we want to do. And while we're talking about quotes here, I love the one by Howard Thurman that talks about how um instead of asking what you can do for the world or what the world needs, ask yourself what lights you up, because what the world needs is more people who are lit up. And so I think just by fact of you doing something that you care about, that you're passionate about, just by pursuing those desires that you have on the inside of you, I think that that lights up and puts just good out into the world. So regardless of what it is, like that is the foundation of why I do what I do, honestly, because I think the world is a better place when we're living, when we want to be here. Because when you look around, right, like this day and age, there are so many people who are like not that into being here. So many of us are like zombies, like going through the motions, checking the boxes, like not hype about life at all. Like it's concerning. And it's like, okay, so we're like surviving for what? Like, are we all just like waiting to not be here anymore? Or like, I don't want to get too into it because I don't want to be depressing. But I do think it's especially powerful now to be excited about life. And so, if there is something that makes you excited, that makes you want to get out of bed in the morning, that brings a smile to your face, that lights you up, I think those are the things that we need to be pursuing, because that has so much like positive ripple effect, because you're showing people there's another way, you're showing yourself, right? And then you're just like spreading that light to other people. And so it's so important for each of us to do like what we can and to be alive, because like we need all of us, right? If you think about a community or a family or like even a workplace, right? Like everyone has their part and you bring something to the community. You bring something to that group of people. And when you don't bring your you-ness, then the whole group misses out. And I believe that like the same on a larger scale. But when you're showing up into your community and you're showing up into, your family or your group of friends or whatever that is, and you're bringing like your aliveness and your essence and your passion and the things that you care about, I think that that is so powerful. And so I want to encourage you to do that. And I want to validate, like, if that's different than the people around you, perfect. Because then you have more diversity and you have more bases covered when different people are championing different causes or taking care of different things. So, the biggest thing I think I want to focus on is like the idea that we're kind of sitting back in the shadows and waiting for somebody else. And I think that there's a lot of reasons we do that. And I think one of them is thinking that somebody else is going to be better at it. Okay. So, when you're looking at Toni Morrison, right? And you're like, oh, she's an incredible author. She's a much better author than me. Let's let her just like write all the books. Okay, well, if Bell Hooks would have said that and then not written any of their books and just let Toni Morrison write everything, then we would have missed out on all the books that Bell Hooks wrote. So I'm using this like super basic example, but it's like just because someone else is good at something doesn't mean that there's no place for you. Because you're going to bring it, let's take coaching for example, right? Like I'm the perfect example of this. It's very easy for me to look at other coaches and say, well, I shouldn't coach because they're so much better at it. Or, they have more experience or they have like different training or better training or like whatever. Like it's very easy for us to compare to someone else and be like, why even try? And the reason you should try is because you have a different formula. You're going to look at things in a different angle. You're going to ask different questions. You're going to come into the coaching relationship with a different set of passions and beliefs and a different way to connect with different clients, right? Somebody said, I think it might have been Kathy Heller, it's like, maybe somebody has like done the thing, but they've never done it in the way that you do it. Maybe somebody has said something before, but they're not going to say it in the same way. And so that's why I think it's so important to be you, because then you're tapping into that uniqueness, right? And then pursue those things that are on your heart because you're going to bring into that situation something that no one else can. Boom. Okay. So we need everyone. If there's a book that you want to read that hasn't been written, write the book. And when you're looking at other people and you're thinking that like they would be better at it than you, that's not necessarily true because you're going to come at it in a different way. But also, yikes, just fighting for my life out here. I think we don't give enough credit to the fact that you literally get better at doing things as you do them, which is hilarious because I'm judging myself in my head right now of how poorly I'm doing at this podcasting thing. And I was like, well, you would think that I've been doing this for a while, I'd be better at it by now. But so when you're comparing yourself to someone else, you don't know their journey and you don't know how far along the journey they are. You don't know what blood, sweat, and tears they've put in to get to the place that they are. And so when you're sitting at the starting line and they're, miles down the road and you're comparing yourself, like, yeah, you're not going to be as far along as them because you're still on the couch and they're on the 5K, right? So the way that you're going to get better is to start taking the action. So whether that's writing the book or writing the music or practicing the instrument, like whatever it is, don't just sit back on the sidelines and think about how much better everyone else is than you, get to work. That's how you're going to get better. Maybe the first thing you put out into the world isn't going to be great. That's actually normal. It's normal to not be good at things that we haven't been doing. So give yourself some grace to start out and to be a beginner and to be bad at it, and then trust that you will get better at it as you go. And I think one of like the clinchers here is that the fact that you care is such a huge asset. And I think that this has been like beaten out of a lot of us because like we care too much or things bother us too much and no, 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 no. Especially in corporate America, it's like caring is a liability. I was in a call center for a long time. Terrible life decision, first of all. And it was the advice I was constantly getting is like, oh, don't let it bother you. Like, let it roll off your back, let it roll off your back, let it roll off your back. And yes, in that context, right? Like, you can't be so caught up in trivial things about like what somebody on the other line thinks about you when they have no idea what they're talking about. But but it was like that messaging was like, oh, like caring makes you not good at this job. Like caring is a liability. And whether like that's a pure communication or maybe we misconstrue it or whatever it is, like I think that's the message we get a lot of the time is that like caring is a liability. And I don't think that that's true at all, especially when you're pursuing, it can be. In this day and age with the way things are, no, no, no. But like at its core, I think caring is an asset. And I actually think that like the world needs more people who care. And especially when you're looking at doing something that you're passionate about that lights you up, caring is a huge asset because you're going to bring in, if you're coming into a situation and you care, think about it with like cooking, right? I don't care about cooking. I'm not a fan. I cook to survive. I don't cook for fun. I don't really enjoy it. I don't really get into it. Okay. So when I cook, it's very functional and I'm just like doing the bare minimum so that I have nutrition. So I have something to eat. Like that's why. But when you think about somebody who cares about cooking, I don't know, Gordon Ramsay, right? Like they bring a much different energy. And not only is the result different, but the process is that like everything about it is different. And so when you're doing something you care about, like that's what we're talking about when we say the world needs people who are lit up. Maybe not be like as angry as Gordon Ramsay, but like when you're bringing in that passion and you care about something, you take it to an entirely new level. Also, that care, that passion, the giving a shit, that is a huge part of what carries us through the hard parts where we're learning and we're not doing a great job at it. You know, if you are really passionate about writing that book, then that passion is going to help you get through those beginning stages when your writing is kind of trash and you need to get better. So when you're doing something you care about, it's going to help you push through to keep going and actually get better. Because if you don't care, you're just going to quit because you don't care, right? But if you're really passionate and you really care about having a podcast or em empowering women, right? Then you're going to keep doing it even when it's hard. So those are the biggest things that I wanted to throw out into the world today. Okay. I want to encourage you that, like, we need you, your you-ness, your special sauce. You are a key piece in the puzzle. And literally, without you, a piece is missing from the puzzle. Point blank, period. Like, I believe that. I think that somebody else can try to cover for you and whatnot, but like, it's not going to be you. So you bring something into the world, into your community, into your family, into your friend group, like whatever that is literally missing without you. Because I know it can feel really trivial, or you can look around and see like, oh, somebody else would be so much better at. No, there's a reason you're here. Okay, okay. And along those lines, like if there's something that you're wanting that's on your heart that you're like, I want to read this book and it hasn't been written, there's a reason for that. That you're noticing it and that you care and that you're passionate about it and kind of sad and looking for that thing is maybe you're the one to create that thing. There's so many entrepreneurs that I've talked to who are like, no one was talking about XYZ, and I was looking for, somebody to teach me how to do XYZ or somebody who was talking about ABC or like I wanted a community. And so then they built their own. And I think so often that's what that's what a calling can look like. is looking for something and searching for something and wanting something and realizing that it's not there. And that's like, oh, that's because you're supposed to create it. If you never had that idea and you never wanted it and you never saw that gap, there would be no reason for you to fill it. So I want to encourage us to move from wishing it was there to considering maybe I can create this thing. Maybe I can fill this gap. Maybe I can be the person that I wish I had in this season or this stage of life, or to teach me this thing or to mentor me in these ways. We're all about just quotes all over today. So be the change you want to see, right? So I think that like that ties together. And when you're looking and you're seeing like, I wish this existed, or I wish people were talking more about this, or there really should be a solution to na na na. Voila. Maybe you're the person to do that. I think that there's a reason that those things click with us and that they resonate with us. And a lot of the times it's because you're the person who's going to do that. And if you're looking around and you're thinking that somebody else would be better suited to it, a lot of the time people aren't better at something than we are. They've just had more practice. Okay, so when you say, who am I to do XYZ? She should do it, or she would be better at it, or you're comparing yourself to someone else. Start now so that you can get better. Maybe you're not great at it now, and that's fine. You're allowed to be a beginner. But whatever that is that you want to do that you think somebody else would be so much better at, get better at it. And the way that you're going to do that is by doing the thing. And when you're looking at like what is that thing, it's the thing you care about. Caring is an asset, it's not a liability. So when you find something that is, heavy on your heart, or it's a desire that you have, what if there's a reason for that? And that caring, the fact that you give a shit, is going to give you the energy that you need, or the motivation, or the longevity, or the grit that you need to push through and get to a solution, or get to the other side, or put this thing out into the world, whatever it is, whether it's your art or a book, or you know your podcast or your TV show, like whatever it is, right? So when you care about something, you're going to bring it at a completely different level than someone who might be good at it, but it's just checking the boxes. Okay. All right. Well, I feel like this was a little all over the place. So obviously, I'm going to listen to it before I publish it. But I am trusting that my message came across. And I just thank you for being in this with me. I am, I feel like consistently on this journey of kind of like authenticity and trying to figure out how to be like real on this podcast without being too scatterbrained, because my authentic version of myself is very ADHD. So yeah, I don't know, I just want to shout you out. Thank you for your grace. Thank you for being here. Um, I hope you enjoyed this episode and got something out of it, and I can't wait to see you next time. And until then, keep becoming fierce.